For over a month, thousands of Israelis are out on the streets to protest against the sweeping judicial reforms that have been announced by Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Over the weekend, fresh protests have erupted in several Israeli cities. Many of those protests have turned violent as well, after Netanyahu especially fired his defense minister for speaking out against the proposed legislation. So in a sign of things to come, the general strike called by Israel's largest trade union has seen doctors, teachers, even students join that strike. Flights from Israel's Tel Aviv airport have been grounded. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has warned that the country is on the brink of constitutional and social collapse. So what is so controversial about the proposed legislation? Well, in January this year, Netanyahu's coalition government announced its plans to overhaul the country's judicial system. There are four major changes that have been proposed under the new law. First, the Netanyahu government wants to arm the 120-member Israeli parliament, the Knesset as we know it, with the power to override any Supreme Court judgment by a simple majority of just 61 votes. Secondly, it wants a greater say in the appointment of Supreme Court judges. The proposed changes would give Israeli lawmakers a majority in the committee that elevates judges to the Supreme Court of the country. Thirdly, it intends to scrap the test of reasonability that the Israeli Supreme Court has often relied on to strike down executive decisions. And lastly, the proposed law would allow ministers to choose their own legal advisors instead of relying on independent professionals. Critics argue that the proposed overhaul is meant to shield Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is facing charges of fraud, bribery, and breach of trust in an ongoing corruption trial. Further, a weakened judiciary may fail to protect the rights of minorities in Israel, especially Palestinians. It may also give unbridled powers to the Israeli parliament and thus remove any checks and balances within the system. Opposition to the proposed changes have come from several quarters. Several former Mossad chiefs have spoken out against the reforms. Hundreds of reservists in Israel's army have warned that they will not answer the call to serve if these reforms are passed. Israel's central bank governor, Amir Yaron, has called these reforms too hasty and a risk to the economy. We got in a word from protesters in Israel. Listen in to what they had to say.
Haven't the Jewish people suffer enough? That's the best sentence we can say now. Go home. Go home, leave us alone. I don't care who will come instead of him. Anyone is better than Netanyahu.
When the Minister of Defense comes to the TV and talks to everybody and says, we're in grave danger, and our Prime Minister decides, oh, you're not loyal to me, so I'll fire you, it's annoying. It's not annoying, it's horrible.
I moved here 45 years ago, and I'm not going anywhere, okay? I'm here for the fight to the end, all right? Even if they win now, I'm here to defeat them after that.